So essentially, I want to be as realistic as I can. You know, doing research is a wonderful idea in theory, but we only all have so much time. So you heard the lady this morning saying that she's too busy digging to take photographs. So we're all too busy making sure that the toilets aren't blocked, or that there's enough chairs in the room, or that there's the sign where the sign should be so people know where to come, or whatever it might be. But we're all too busy doing those kind of things to take photographs, or to take surveys, or even to chat to people, which is one of the things that we should be doing. So that'll be the first thing I would say is, you know, you use yourself well, but use your volunteers, anyone who can volunteer with you, really well as well, so that you're the person who can be getting the feedback that's so all important. So the kind of things that you want to know: how many people attended, so ticket sales, registrations, bums on seats, whatever it might be. How long did they stay? And I'll explain in a while why this is important, because say certain events are free and maybe a lot of people come through. It's not like a talk. So you need to know how long people are staying in order to know kind of what the throughput was, and therefore the real attendance. How do they hear about you? Very important. Now, how far in advance do they plan to attend the event? I'll explain that one as well. Where are they from? A profile of your audience: male, female, young, old, employed, unemployed, retired, whatever it might be, and how much do they spend. And believe it or not, people spend more than they think they do. We've all gone places and come home and said, where did my money go? Well, the cup of coffee, or the lunch, or the sandwich, or whatever it might have been. And then suggestions for improvement. So even if you were to only capture half of this, you would be getting valuable information that would make your life easier, motivate people, and I'll explain in a little while, help you with PR, and also help you be a lot more focused, but most importantly, save money. So one of the easiest ways calculating attendance: ticket sales, but of course so many Heritage Week events are free, therefore ticket registrations. So that's an easy one to keep track of. But do you keep track of how early people book, or how late people book, or that kind of thing? It's really interesting the way everybody in this country leaves everything to the last minute. People say we can't rely on advanced ticket sales. If you were a theatre producer now, you just hold your breath until the day you open the doors and hope that people just walk up, and that kind of thing. So the capacity of your venue. So you don't know how many people. Don't need to register in advance. Your event is free. Therefore, you need to have some idea of the capacity of the venue, whether it's a building or somewhere like outside here in the Castle Yard. How many people can it hold? And a glance will tell you: is that full? Is it half full? Is it 3/4 full? And then if you have some idea of how long people stay at the event and how often the flow by which they're coming through, you'll have some sense of what your actual attendance is. You'll have to do a little bit of maths, but it's fairly logical kind of maths. But also, and this is where the idea of also doing survey data comes into play. So if you have a representative sample of your audience responding to a survey, you will know with a good degree of accuracy how long people stay, and therefore if you're counting them at the entranceway, you only need to count them on the way in and get the total number for the day, and you know how long people stay, so you have some sense of what to divide by what, and that gives you your answer. And then you take a look at that answer and you think, is that logical? You know, and so many people don't actually think that. And very often, I ask you the next time you read in the newspapers about the attendance figures for an event, particularly the very, very large events, just stop and say to yourself, is that actually possible? Because sometimes you'd be amazed at the rate at which numbers are picked out of the sky. It's quite incredible. Then you would ask people, if you have an event that's running over a number of days, very important to ask them, how many days did you attend? How many times did you come back? So I know if I enjoy something on a Sunday, I might go back the following Friday or Saturday if it's running for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. So I don't want to be, there's no point in counting me twice because I'm only one unique visitor. So it's all important to ask how often did somebody attend, and then how many events within the whole programme. So take Heritage Week, for example. We have 946 organisers producing 1,700 events, but 3,800 performances. Did you know that? It's a massive number. There's no harm in counting absolutely all the attendances at all the events, but distinguish between unique audience members and your total attendance. And it's just really important when it comes down to doing things like trying to calculate economic impact. In terms of research techniques, the obvious one is to do surveys if you can. I strongly recommend, and I do strongly recommend, trying to do online surveys using something like SurveyMonkey, for example. What we find is that when people really feel passionate about something like Heritage Week, they respond extremely well to surveys and questionnaires, and you get really good quality data. And what I would say is, if you are surveying people online and you're not getting a great response, it's telling. And you should take note and not simply say, oh, well, people are very busy and they have too much to do and all of this kind of thing. If they don't care enough to fill in the questionnaire, you need to maybe make them care a little bit more, give them, I don't know what, build that passion, because that passion in somebody about an event is what makes it a success. So with something like an online survey, don't wait until the week of the event to line it up. Do it now. Have it ready to go. The same questions apply all the time, and it is really important that you ask the same question year on year on year. Ask a few questions maybe that are different and relevant to one year's programmes, but you need to be able to compare 2013 with 2014 and on and on and on. Obviously, not everybody can do this, and sometimes, I bet you, how many people in this room are all on their own organising their Heritage Week event? Yeah, I knew it. It can be a very lonely business. So where you can't, and it's just you and everything like that, the simple tricks, obviously, observation. Seeing, you can profile your audience by looking around the room. Simple things like chatting to the audience. That whole thing about how did you hear about us is all about chatting to people as they're coming in the door or going out the door. But that's the moment when you're too busy arranging the chairs or making sure there's water on the table or whatever it might be, making sure the power doesn't trip or God knows what. Monitoring media and online fora. Would you all have used a Google Alert in the past, perhaps? So put in your own Google Alert and you will find not just what the media is saying about your event, but sometimes what people are saying on social media. Take the name of your own event, put it into Google, see what comes out. But also, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, once you Google your own event, you'll see a request, would you like to set a Google Alert for the such and such? Free, completely free. You can have it delivered to you once a week or once a day. You can have every possible reference delivered to you, or just the closest matches or whatever you are. So you get an email back from Google saying, this is what was said in the press today about the such and such. Now, the problem with it is it doesn't catch everything. So some newspapers, for example, they're not online. And a lot of the local papers, you'll find half them are, half them aren't. For some bizarre reason, the tabloid papers aren't online at all. But then again, they may be the most important. But it really works, it really does work. What you find out is what people are saying about you. Now, if they're not saying anything, or they're saying terrible things, well, then you have to face that. There's no question. But if they're saying amazing things and people are raving about this talk that they went to, or the Wall Towns Day, or the Field Day, or the bog snorkeling, or whatever it was, if they're absolutely raving about it, you get to take that information and first of all, give yourself a pat on the back, and then share it with your committee and your volunteers and your participants and the media and whoever. Let's look at calculating economic impact. There's no harm in it. And the reason why you should really try and do it and maybe start moving towards doing it is other people will do it for you. I've heard instances where in this town or this city, maybe the business organisations are contacted by the media. So a chamber of commerce or a business association, or I don't know, sometimes it could be anyone, but they're contacted and asked the question, what do you think this event is worth to the city? And I have actually seen cases where some of those places have not necessarily just picked a number out of the sky, but rather they've said, well, this event over here is worth that, and that event is worth this, and that event in the next town is worth the other. So somewhere in between the three, we'll pick a number. You know what I mean? They're not doing it without some kind of basis, but they shouldn't be doing it for you at all. They should know that you have this information. They should be able to go to you and say, What's it worth? What's the answer? So asking the question of those who come, is your event the main reason why they have come on that day to the town or the village or the city or the townland or whatever? And if the answer is yes, then ask them how much have they spent on accommodation or lunch or drinks or coffees or souvenirs, whatever it might be. And you'll be surprised at the answers. They're always much higher than you would expect, and it's worth knowing this. So you can incorporate it really easily into an online questionnaire, and people almost expect to see it nowadays. Now you see all the polls, and there's a lot of them around at the moment, and you're told that they are 95% confidence plus or minus 5. So basically all that's saying is we're 99% sure. Say if it was a poll about, do Irish people like it when the sun shines? We would say we're 95% sure that 100% of the population likes it. Give or take 5. That's literally what the interval about is. It's give or take. So in order to be accurate about that, you need to survey 278 people out of a population of 1,000. If you're going to have a 95% confidence level and an interval of 5. So these are high numbers, and if it's your audience and you have 1,000 people coming to your events, you've got to talk to 278, which is a pain, especially if you don't have much time. And that's why online surveying delivers the results a lot better. These calculators, very easy to find online. Just put in sample size calculator into Google, and you'll get this one and a couple of others. And it's simply a statistical formula, but thanks to technology, I don't have to put the formula up here anymore, and you don't have to do the sums. We just download the calculator for free. And then in terms of online surveys, something like SurveyMonkey is ideal. There are others. I haven't used them, but it's free up to an extent. But it is always worth, after you've used it for a little while, considering taking out a monthly subscription. It's also very useful for event registration. So every one of you here that registered online to attend, you did so through SurveyMonkey.